Hello, babes. How are you? My name is Moran. Welcome to my series, Getting Personal, where I gather different stories from Reddit. And today, our topic is what a mess. Literally, you're just reading those stories and you just can't help but think, what a cluster. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Starting off very strong with the story, husband wants to divorce and start over, says he can't bond with daughter. Throw away because I want to fix this and I'm paranoid about more people in our lives finding out. It's all so already. I don't want more stress. My husband, 29 male, and I, 30 non-binary, have been married for 5 years. I gave birth to our first child in September, a girl. My husband was present for most of my labor, but things went very pear-shaped and I had to have an emergency C-section. The doctors told him to leave the room and wait outside. In short, he did not see our daughter be born. A week ago, he informed me that he wants a divorce and start over on his dreams of having a family. He insists he cannot bond with our daughter and says it's because he didn't see her being born. He said a lot about how it's always been a dream of his to have a small, close-knit family. And now he can't have that with me because of the C-section and his not being in the room. His dad suggested therapy, but husband refused, saying he knew it wouldn't work. I've made sure he knows I'm open to the idea if he changes his mind, but he's been very insistent that he knows this can't be fixed. Part of me knows I'm basically asking for a magic spell here, but does anyone have any ideas how/if this can be fixed? I'll try to answer any questions anyone may have. This is so insane. I don't think I even should comment much on it. There is like a lot of updates, but I'm going to say one thing. I don't think this is about bonding with the daughter. Something else is definitely going on because this reasoning is just nonsense. So update 2. Several people suggested asking him to come with me to a therapist so I can get help understanding why he's leaving. He agreed and our appointment was yesterday. It didn't go badly, but it didn't go well either. He was very upfront with the therapist. He didn't try to mince words or refuse to answer questions. He told the man, paraphrasing, they got to bond the entire pregnancy. That baby is made of their body. I can't compare to that. My work started at birth and I wasn't there, so I don't feel like I ever got hired, if that makes sense. Yeah, he compared it to not having an employment contract. I get the metaphor, I guess, but I'm not sure how it translates to him not being able to bond. Several people made transphobic comments and several other people asked if maybe my lack of gender was an issue. I assumed no because husband had known that I'm non-binary since before we started dating, but I did bring it up while we were with the therapist. Husband insists that no, it has nothing to do with anything. He didn't care about what I am, but how I did. The therapist was very focused on trying to help me understand, and I appreciate that. No complaints with him. I'm still completely in the dark though, and husband has started talking about choosing a lawyer. He says he wants a clean break before daughter gets too attached. His story has so many plot holes, it's getting me confused. I mean, I understand if he genuinely, for real, seriously feels that way, but, well, it's absurd, in my opinion. But, like, there is a little bit of a very big plot hole in here, because he's like, he can't bond with his daughter because he wasn't there at birth, but now he wants to get divorced faster because he's afraid that the daughter will get too attached. So like he admits that she can get attached to him, which probably means he can get attached to her too. And I mean, this logic is once again nonsense because you have all this life ahead of you to bond with her. Like, one moment does not negate everything in the future. Let's see the second update. I'm still trying to just clarify what the is this? We have filed. I have taken daughter and moved back in with my parents, who aren't very happy about the divorce but are thrilled to have the chance to nanny daughter. Their words, not mine. Life was in stasis for about a week after my last post until father-in-law asked us to come over for dinner. He informed me that soon-to-be ex-husband had asked for his help paying for a lawyer. He had agreed with a requirement that we will all sit down and have one last talk about the situation. He opened with saying that he thinks that getting this over with would be best for me and daughter. Soon-to-be ex looked a little hurt at this, so he's willing to help, but he wanted to take one last shot at fixing it. The one last shot ended up being several hours of talking. Father-in-law bluntly demanded that soon-to-be ex explain his reasoning. Soon-to-be ex repeated the can't bond thing. Father-in-law asked why. The employment contract analogy was brought up again. After much back and forth, what do you mean by this? Why that? Father-in-law just said, I'm not buying this. What's the real reason? Soon-to-be ex insisted till the end that what he'd been saying all along was his reasoning. He did not see daughter be born, so he can't bond. He tried, he insisted. The connection isn't there. He was supposed to connect when daughter was born. There was supposed to be a spark of connection between them, but that spark can only happen right after birth, I guess. In his mind, he can't get it now. Father-in-law asked if soon-to-be ex thought daughter wasn't his. Soon-to-be ex insists he has no doubts he's daughter's biological father. Father-in-law asked if soon-to-be ex was seeing someone else. Was there a woman or another pregnancy somewhere? Soon-to-be ex did not react well to this. He threw his phone down on the table and said that we were free to search it. He's not a scumbag. After that, the conversation turned to post-divorce life. Soon-to-be ex offered up that he's been running the numbers and would volunteer $50 per month alimony and $50 per month in child support. He doesn't have to do either, mind you, because we're divorcing and he wants to cut all ties with the kid, but he wants to be fair. $50 in alimony? Whatever, I have a job and a roof over our heads. I don't need it. $50 in child support? That is a lot less whatever, but I'm refusing to stress about it. The court will handle child support amounts. I'm making myself not be angry and let them deal with it. I admit I tuned out most of the rest of father-in-law's attempt to talk sense into his son after that comment. I think that was when the coffin finally nailed itself shut. I started packing when we got home and went to my parents' house the next day. I'm no longer talking to soon-to-be ex, his lawyer talks to mine. We haven't spoken in almost 3 weeks. I don't think I need to tell you that he hasn't shown any concern for daughter, but here I am anyway. The day after I got there, my sister kidnapped me to her place. We got very drunk, daughter was with parents, not us, talked about everything, and I screamed a lot. I got most of it out of my system. After that, we had more drinks and watched terrible horror movies. I woke up the next day with a headache from hell, but otherwise feeling better than I had in a long time. My job can't transfer me, just my luck, but I've been promised a glowing reference and I'm cashing out what little paid leave I have left to add to my savings. Father-in-law asked after the failed conversation if I would be cutting him off. I assured him that he might not see us as much because of how far away my parents live and not knowing where I'll end up, but he's not getting rid of me or daughter that easily. He was very happy to hear that. So that's where I am. Papers have been filed, daughter and I have moved out of the house. I'm doing my best to ignore soon-to-be ex's existence. Thank you all again for listening to me cry and complain over the past couple months. How does this not get any better? I was hoping that with like at least update 2, we will get a little bit more reasoning, a little bit more understanding of whatever the this is, but it just got worse somehow. I do have to note though that your father-in-law sounds amazing, and at least you have one more like normal person in your life. That's great. But soon-to-be ex is just nuts. Anyway, there is another update, the last one. Maybe this will give us anything to make sense of this. I promised an update once things were over, and at this point they're mostly over. over, so here I am. Daughter turned 1 this month. She landed on nod as her first word. I suspect this is because father-in-law brought home a foster-to-adopt dog a few months back whose previous owners called her Nod or Nodder. Daughter loves the heck out of this dog, you guys. Father-in-law sends me pictures of her every day to show to daughter. Ex-husband and I are just waiting on some final paperwork for the divorce to be complete. He has not contested anything. He did look the judge in the face and repeat the whole didn't see birth, can't bond thing. His lawyer did try and defend that claim. He presented studies that he claimed said things about damages to bonds when fathers weren't present and actively involved for everything, but ex-husband was. He was there and active and involved my entire pregnancy and was present for my entire labor until things went wrong. It wasn't a case of, ooh, hey, you knocked someone up 5 years ago, now bond with this kid. Daughter was definitely less than an hour old when he held her for the first time, probably less than half an hour. And I had proof for this claim too. Among other things, I had picture of the two of us at multiple prenatal appointments. Father-in-law was also willing to file a statement talking about how ex and he were involved in my pregnancy. Needless to say, the judge was not impressed with my ex's lawyer's arguments. He tried to push my ex for therapy, made comments about how ex would regret this later. Ex stood stubborn with his "I need to start over" line. He has visitation per the paperwork. Care to guess if he's used it? He doesn't also have to pay child support. If you've read my post history, you might remember that he offered me a gigantic $50 a month. That's all he's been paying, despite the judge ordering a lot more, so that's a fight I'm going to have to steel myself for. I'm surprised he started scanting out before the divorce was even final, but he did tell me and father-in-law that he's not a scumbag, so in his mind, he's probably just keeping true to his word or something. He's shown no interest in daughter. No other children, pregnancies, or potential partners have popped up either. As best father-in-law can tell, ex is single and not showing any interest in dating yet. I don't know how to feel really. It would make more sense if he was cheating. It would be easier to have something solid to point to. Go into a tornado for making my life fall apart and then try to move on. But all lived evidence points to him honestly thinking he has to do this. I'm in therapy. I found a place about midway of my parents and father-in-law and I'm still doing freelance work. I would rate myself okay. Daughter is happy, healthy, and kicking off. She will be fine. I plan to never speak to ex again once this paperwork is done. I just have to wait to be able to totally start over myself. Before I forget that $50 and child support just killed me. It's the best joke I've heard in the past week. Honestly, this is hilarious, and he probably thought he was being a very decent man and being generous and This is honestly hilarious. But after all of this is said and done, I genuinely still don't believe him. I'm not buying it. No. So yeah, there's that. This one came from Best of Redditor Updates, and the top comment here is, why do I have a feeling that when father-in-law inevitably dies, the ex is going to get skipped and everything will go to the daughter in trust instead? As it should. I don't understand that person. I'm so baffled, kind of regretting starting off this episode with this story because, well, it is like a mess, but it's also like a mysterious mess. I don't even know how to react to this, so let's just move to the next story. Am I the for throwing away my ex-husband's Valentine's gift for his affair partner? My husband, 34 male, and I, 38 female, have been separated for a year and the divorce was final last year. About 3 years prior, I caught him in an affair in which he cried and promised things would change and he would never do it again. I was stupid, believed him, and stayed. After countless infidelities, I finally found enough sense and respect for myself to leave the relationship. This man gaslit me to the nth degree about his affair, to the point where he said I needed therapy for the marriage to continue for my false assumptions and questioning his trust. In fact, solid proof of his multiple affairs were found days after the last "you need therapy for not trusting me" speech. This was the same day I asked for a divorce. Found out through mutual friends he's expecting, and their conception date would be when we were still together based on his due date. So there is that. As you can imagine, this has been a lot to deal with, and having to keep in contact with him to complete divorce proceedings and removing his name from my house was painful. Fast forward 1 year to today, he has not lived here for a year. This is my house, his name is not on it in any way. I still get mail for him here, in which I have constantly and kindly asked him to change his address, for which he says he did and will double check every time. This mail includes things like insurance cards for his new affair baby. Just last week, he has picked up the last of his belongings and important mail, which I've held on to for months, waiting for him to pick up. Celebrated that it would be the last time I would ever need to contact or see him again. Yesterday, I received a package, and without thinking, I opened it on my way to the door, thinking it was one of my many Amazon buys. Well, it's a jewelry box with 2 rather cheap-looking necklaces inside, something I didn't order. I double-checked the shipping label, and it's my ex-husband's name. This is clearly a Valentine's present for the new girl, as the rhinestones are green, which I immediately recognized as her month's birthstone. He's never ordered from this company when we were together, so I would have understood if he had an existing account which had the old address, but I don't see that as the case. At this point, I feel this is almost intentional. How many times can one put the wrong address on your things? This man is very much a narcissist, but even I don't know if he would go that far or if he's just that stupid. Would I be the for throwing away the whole package in the trash? I looked it up and it was under 80 bucks and not fine jewelry by any means. Also, I really wanted to go no contact moving forward, so I rather not text him if it can be avoided. I would be lying if I said I didn't still harbor resentment and hate, but I feel guilty not giving someone something they paid for. I would 100% have thrown it away. Come on, girl. This gons to be intentional, because he had to enter the new address knowing that he hasn't lived at your house for more than a year. So like, I see very little possibility of this being an accident. Maybe he's just that stupid, but that's still astounding and still doesn't mean you cannot be mad that he did this. Just throw it away. The top comment here is right in the garbage. Exactly. And our next mess is very long, so strap in. This comes from True of My Chest, and it's, I think, going to be heavy because it has content warning, sexual assault, so beware. And it's called I Wish I Had Ignored His Suicide Note. Let's preface this with I am an independent sex worker. I do in-person sex work by the hour, and it's my job because I enjoy it and it gives me a lot of financial security. My best friend Celia also does sex work, and we share notes about the job and even have the same clients on occasion. She met John first. John is an obese, 300-pound man, early 30s, and a high-maintenance client. He was very recently divorced because he cheated on his high school sweetheart wife with another friend from high school. He left his wife only to have his new girlfriend leave him about a month later for another man. Why did he cheat on his wife? Because she had gained so much weight that he no longer found her attractive. I saw photos of her, she was barely overweight. He, on the other hand, nearly doubled his weight since they got married. John is a home inspector for an insurance company. He makes good money by inspecting a high volume of homes, but part of the job is using all the data collected to write personalized reports on each home inspection. When John was married, his wife did the reports for him. This was illegal because the information is supposed to be confidential, but he was able to get away with it because they lived together and she used his PC to help him out. So he left his wife, then his girlfriend of 2 months left him. He was desperate to get her back in any which way and knew she needed money, so he offered to pay her to do the reports for him, which worked out because his wife was no longer willing to do them. He figured out a way to log into his work from her PC, trained her up, and used his position as her boss to make her spend as much time with him as possible so he could potentially win her back. He would only ever pay her in person, for example, and coerce her into spending hours with him before he paid her the money. This isn't important to the story, it just gives background information on his history of inappropriate relationships and manipulating women. In the meantime, he started seeing escorts to fill the sexual void. Eventually, he met Celia and very quickly fell into limerence. For the first time since his ex-girlfriend left him, John had a new woman to obsess over. He shared his whole life story with Celia, texted her all the time, and visited her more often than he could afford. She found him exhausting to see. He had strangled syndrome from a porn addiction and struggled to get off, but would urge her to keep trying. He talked constantly about himself, overshared about his childhood trauma, and would stay longer than he paid for, forcing her to have to kick him out each time. She set boundaries about him texting her so much and taking so much of her emotional energy, but he kept breaking them. So she enlisted my help. I have a few more years' experience under my belt and felt confident that I could handle his neediness. After she talked me up, he agreed to meet me. The appointment was a success. I was able to work around his strangled problem and he began to see us both regularly. But it became obvious that he was obsessive and inappropriate. He talked about Celia non-stop and shared personal details about their time together with me. He also shared private details about his ex-wife and ex-girlfriend. When he saw Celia, he talked about me and overshared in a similar way. It made her very uncomfortable and she set boundaries about it. He didn't abide by the boundaries, so she fired him. He was devastated, but I was able to distract him and help him process the heartbreak. He felt betrayed by her because she treated him as a client and he felt like he deserved better treatment. I gently defended her actions, but not so much that it would offend him. By this point, I was earning steady money seeing him, so I didn't want to risk jeopardizing that cash flow. I could see that he needed the full girlfriend experience, so I gave it to him. He was very insecure, so I often needed to reassure him that he could count on me, that I would be a stable person in his life so long as he kept paying my rates for time together. I allowed him to take me to dinner off the clock occasionally and texted him back on occasion. I didn't get triggered by his incessant texting in the same way as Celia did. It worked out pretty decently for a few months. I felt like I was meeting his needs and he seemed happier and more stable. Unfortunately, my carefully set boundaries started to erode. He didn't see me as an escort anymore. He saw me as a sugar baby, then as a girlfriend. He told me he loved me, often. He started celebrating anniversaries for us and booking me for holidays. I too found his company exhausting. The whining, the complaining, the bad decisions, the love bombing, the delusional thinking. It started to be too much. I felt like I was wearing a thick mask while I was with him, forcing myself not to show my disgust. I hated the way he bragged about how much money he made while breaking the rules to do it. I hated his nice guy syndrome and how entitled he felt to attention from women. I hated the way he would eat dairy despite being lactose intolerant. I hated the way he binged on McDonald's after eating a large dinner with bottomless Cokes. I hated the way he touched me and kissed me. I hated the self-obsession and the victim mentality he had. I couldn't stand his inability to take any personal accountability in his life. I eventually learned that despite making over $300K a year, he was completely maxed out in debt because he had a gambling addiction in addition to his sex addiction. He learned to count cards at the casino and managed to con a young card counter, I think he was only 21, into lending him tens of thousands of dollars to invest into being an advantage player at the casino. Unfortunately, John lacked discipline and lost everything on slot machines. To his credit, he's planning to pay the kid back, but learning about this made me incredibly nervous and I started to get the sense that I was in over my head. I hated the way that he would talk about being sexually abused as a child without warning in excruciating and disgusting detail. I hated that he would rather spend money he didn't have on escorts and gambling than see a therapist. I felt gross and drained for hours or even days after seeing him and would sometimes have to turn down other work because I didn't feel up to it. The last straw for me happened on February 16th. We were supposed to see each other on Valentine's Day, but I fell ill with a flu a few days earlier. He complained every day while I was sick and pestered me, dangling the money for my overnight fee over my head. He wasn't able to schedule another overnight until March, so if I didn't see him by Sunday, I would lose out on the $2,000. Also, he just really needed to get laid, and if I didn't see him, he'd go see another escort. Sorry, my kitty really needed some attention. Yes? Say hi. Hi. So, still feverish and really ill, I let him come see me. It's important to note that the first time he booked me for an overnight, he touched me in my sleep. This is a hard no for me, and I let him know. Subsequent overnights, he did not cross that boundary. But this night, I woke up again to him assaulting my body in my sleep. My heart was racing, and I felt so violated that I wanted to cry. I didn't want major confrontation, so I just pushed his hands away and told him I was still trying to sleep. But I spent the rest of the night on high alert, only able to doze for short periods of time. After that, I knew it was time to stop seeing him. Because we planned our appointments for each month up to 2 months in advance, it did not seem appropriate to simply ghost him. I struggled to find the right way to end it. I knew he was obsessively attached to me, and it would be chaotic no matter how gently I tried to let him go. Then an opportunity presented itself. He saw another escort and fell asleep in his car in her parking lot. He woke up to the police questioning him and searching his car and phone. He cracked under pressure and admitted to paying for sexual services. He told them about me and about her. They chose not to arrest him or press charges, but when he related all the information to me, I decided to seize this excuse to stop seeing him. I told him that for my safety, I did not want him to ever contact me again. At first, he said he understood and said goodbye, and then for the next 5 days, he bombarded me with texts and emails. He also sent YouTube videos of him crying and begging, snot dripping, or drunk and begging and crying, then sober and matter-of-factly laying out all of the reasons why my fears about his interaction with the cops were unfounded. More texts, more emails from different accounts. I responded to none of it. It made me feel even more disgusted by him, honestly. I hoped that he would eventually tire and just go the way. Then he emailed me a suicide note. I didn't receive it until nearly 4 hours after he sent it because I was busy working. It stated that by the time I received it, it was already too late to stop him. But then 3 hours after the email, he sent me a YouTube video suicide note which seemed fishy. It had my already frazzled nerves in shambles. I worried that I could somehow be found responsible if he was found dead and they traced the cause back to me. I eventually gave in and called the police. I posed as a girlfriend and hoped it would be a one and done call, but they kept calling me back for more information. I knew his address and full name and vehicle, and they wanted copies of his suicide letters. They tracked him down, and turned out he was absolutely fine. He just wanted me to talk to him and was willing to do anything to make it happen. I guess the cops successfully conveyed to him that he needed to stop harassing me because the emails, texts, and videos stopped. He did message my friend, but she told him the same thing the cop did, that he had to stop harassing me through her or else we'd go to the police. I wish I had ignored his suicide note. I feel tricked and I'm still angry about it. Oh girl, I'm so sorry you went through this roller coaster. It's absolutely unhinged. This dude 100% needs help instead of repeating that it's a complete gigantic mess. I will say that one of the things that pisses me off in here is that he snitched on you to the cops. Like, he absolutely didn't need to do that. Why would he do that? Why would he involve you in this if he got caught with a different sex worker? Maybe he had to confess and they had him dead to rights about that other sex worker, right? But why in the hell did he involve you in this? I hate this. I hate that some people will treat sex workers like this. I feel horrible for them. Like, it's not the easiest job to do, and then with people like that, it becomes 1,000 times harder. Though I do have to say that boundary crossing was also probably for him spurred on by the fact that you let him take you out for dinner off the clock and stuff like that. and I'm not putting blame here. I understand, like, you were trying to keep him, you know, happy, you were trying to make this work, figure this out, and have less problems with him. I just think with people like these, you cannot feed them any crumbs because they will latch onto that and then just run with it as far as humanly possible. But I'm really glad that you kind of managed to get rid of him through the police, and I'm glad that you didn't, you know, face any trouble with them. Also, we'll never understand why sex work is illegal. That's a different topic, sorry. The top comment here is, holy, what a ride I just took. Don't mean to come off in any way, just was a lot to process. As I started fully reading, I was hooked and couldn't stop. First off, I'm glad you're okay as well as your friend, and I'm sorry you had to go through such a roller coaster of emotions and events. I do feel like you did actually want to somewhat help this individual based on the context given, although it was very clear early on that this would be a huge mistake. Given the red flags from his behavior, past relationships, and overall personality, I would have steered very clear. I get it was work, and maybe you thought you could help him a little, but at the end of the day, this person needs serious medical help. He's clearly psychologically unstable, sounds to have a deeper past which could have resulted in some of these behaviors, like the sexual addiction, but it's still no excuse for what he had done. Hopefully, getting this out there helped you a little bit. Just know you did the right thing in the end, and I wish you the best going forward. Yeah, I genuinely wish that neither you or your friend, or any sex worker for that matter, ever faces facts like that. And also, yeah, I do understand this kind of urge that, you know, some people will have, like empathy and stuff, that you see a deeply suffering person and you think that you might be able to do something for them and you might be able to help. But sometimes, man, you just have to take all of your strength, turn away and go, because some people are beyond our help. And let's see another story. Am I the asshole for ignoring my wife, for throwing away my late wife's videotapes? I'm writing this because I don't know what to do. I have a daughter with my late wife and her name is Eleanor. Her birthday is coming up in 2 weeks and she's turning 18. Background, me and my late wife, Chloe, had been dating since college. We got older and ended up getting married, and after our wedding she shared news to me that she was pregnant, and I was excited that we were expecting our first child. Since it was our first child, we bought a video camera and made little tapes and snippets of her whole pregnancy. Wholesome things such as just joking around or having lunch or talking to our unborn child through the camera. We made a promise to only show Eleanor the tapes until her 18th birthday. Fast forward 2 years after her birth, Chloe passed away due to a drunk driver crashing into her car as she was coming home from her mother's house. I was devastated of her passing and went into a deep depression and having to raise our 2-year-old daughter by myself. My friends tried to get me to go out again and start back dating, but every time I did, I felt like I was betraying her. Years later, when Eleanor was 13, I met Wendy. We met at a gathering for my sister's birthday and we instantly hit it off. She didn't mind that I had a daughter because she had 2 kids herself and just went through a divorce. 2 years after we got married, now back to the present. Eleanor's 18th birthday is coming up and I kept all the tapes for me to show her. Mind you, her mother died when she was just 2, so Eleanor doesn't really remember her touch or her voice. I was excited to show her the tapes, and a week ago I was talking to Wendy about it and I noticed her expression going from happy to looking a bit uncomfortable. Wendy would always get uncomfortable when I talk about my late wife. I don't say things like, why can't you be like Chloe, or Chloe was only supposed to be my first love, but I talk about her in a way to give my daughter a mental picture of how her mother was like. Wendy has always talked to me about Chloe and how it made her sad that she can never be like her. Chloe was a model, then started working on her fashion career, and don't get me wrong, she was a really beautiful woman, while Wendy had 2 kids in college and not in the best shape due to her words. I love both women how they are and I've never had a preference, but I feel like Wendy is gaining some jealousy towards Chloe. I told Wendy that I love her just the way she was and she broke down crying. The next day after that incident, she came up to me and apologized for the way she acted last night. I told her it was okay and it's good that she felt comfortable to share her feelings, and I gave her a tight hug and a kiss on her forehead. She asked to see where the tapes were at, and I showed her the box of videotapes of my late wife in my closet. Things were going fine until yesterday morning. I was looking for the tapes because I wanted to put them in a prettier box for my daughter, and when I went to find them, the box wasn't in my closet. I looked everywhere to the point I walked downstairs to see my wife laying on the couch watching TV. I asked her about the box and she told me she threw it away with a neutral expression. My heart dropped and I asked her what did she mean, and she told me that I talk about her too much and that I need to move on with my life, so she threw them away as a head start. I was fuming with anger because not only she threw away what I had left of her, she threw away my daughter's big surprise. We quickly got into an argument and she noticed how angry I was, so she started apologizing. It got to the point I started crying and locked myself in our bedroom. It's the morning and I'm writing this in my office, going through my computer, finding old files or any type of video of my late wife to give it to my daughter, because sometimes my daughter still cries that she never got to meet her mother and I really thought it would bring her closer to her. I've been ignoring my wife for the past day and she's been texting me non-stop about how sorry she is, but I really just can't look at her right now. It's getting to the point our mutual friends are texting me to accept her apology and get over it, since Chloe died over 10 years ago, but I'm trying to ignore them all because they never had someone so close to them die. I'm working on finding these files and I'm starting to think I was overreacting. I don't know what to do and I really need help. Oh my god, the rage I just felt. I don't think I've ever gotten this mad on this channel. Oh my god. Overreacting? My man. No. What? This is so awful and it's irreversible. The worst part of this is irreversible. Your daughter will never get those tapes back. She will never get to see her mom. And the fact that it was all over like jealousy towards a dead person who was killed just makes it, oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna start yelling. I'm already yelling. No, we can't do that. This is awful, okay? This is psychotic. The top comment here is, "Dear Lord, I'm honestly not one to advocate for divorce, but I do not think I could continue a relationship with someone who did something so wildly despicable. That isn't jealousy, that's a mental disorder. She stole the only vestiges of your wife that your daughter will have. This is not something you come back from or she can apologize for." This is a line in the sand, and I do agree. I don't think this is something that could be fixable. Okay, we have a small update, which I didn't know about, so let's see that. I was thinking about asking Wendy about the tapes and where she threw them out at, but I saw a comment that told me to don't ask her because it might give her some time to hide it or lie. Instead, when I went back home, I checked in the outside trash cans and the kitchen one, and I still couldn't find them. Trash day isn't until Thursday, so I was confused. I finally went up to ask her, and at first she wasn't gonna tell me. I threatened divorce like one of you guys said, and she gave in. It turned out she kept the videotapes in her car until trash day arrived because she knew I would look through the trash. So now I have the tapes, thank God. Another question asked was, did Eleanor know about the tapes? No, I didn't want to ruin the surprise until I knew that I had a backup. She didn't know about them now, and I'm not planning on telling her until her birthday. The only problem is that I'm afraid that Wendy might tell her. One more question is people asking if I'm considering divorce. Wendy never did anything like this before, and I don't want to ruin a 6-year relationship. But at the same time, I really do think she needs some type of help. I'm considering asking her to go to therapy, and I'm really considering our relationship. Wendy is really good with my daughter, and my daughter loves her and her children like family. I think Wendy is just trying to take Chloe's place with being Eleanor's mother. I'm really starting to think she has issues. A lot of people also said if I don't divorce her, I will betray my daughter. My daughter is my number one, and I think I should find someone better that can respect not only me, but my daughter and her mother. I do agree that there has to be more respect for your late wife, because it's insane to desecrate someone's memory like this. And I'm having a hard time thinking right now, because all I feel is the relief that the tapes were found. I'm like seriously ready to cry, because oh my god, at least you got them back. I am so happy. I'm so happy that they are back. Whether or not you get a divorce, she definitely needs help. Like, she is jealous of your dead wife. That's insane. If you cannot handle a widower, and if you know you're like kind of jealous and you cannot process that, don't be in a relationship with that person. Like, from the way this is written and from the OP's account, it seems that he wasn't, you know, like talking about her incessantly and, you know, comparing them or anything. So that seems to be a problem on her side, and that is just nuts. Also, there is a top comment on this update, but it's longer than most of the stories I have for you today. So if you really want to read that, please do go. The link is in the description. Wow, I'm so happy the tapes are back. This one at least has a more or less happy or bittersweet ending. Let's see another mess from True Off My Chest. A woman used to stalk my dad and we had to move. I, female 24, am from not a very big town, around 2000. Back when my parents were still married and I was around 7, 8 years old, a woman who was a well-known character in town asked my dad out. There are several weird factors here because 1, small town, she knew my dad was married, especially since she had a son a year older than me and had seen my parents together several times at school events, so no excuse there that she didn't know. 2, the weirdest thing here was how she asked him out. She came to our house while we were all sitting on a deck eating dinner. I don't really remember how it played out, but I so vividly remember her face pop up from the railing on our deck asking my dad to come with her. I guess my dad followed her to our driveway, and when he came back he said that we should go inside. We did, because my dad looked concerned, and when he looks concerned we take it seriously. I guess he was only talking to my mom because they were standing in the kitchen, but we heard him telling my mom that this woman had asked him out. You might be asking why this woman was a well-known character before I continue. She was just weird. Very weird vibes, and I guess she had done other things that made her well-known. She was just odd. Anyways, it got weirder after this because she started leaving notes in our freaking mailbox. One of our chores when we were kids was to get the mail when we got home from school. It was obvious that she had put it there herself as well because there was no address on the notes and they started to become quite frequent. At this point, my parents called the police, but I don't think they took it seriously that a tiny lady like her was stalking my dad, a big 230 pounds guy who lifts weights, because no efforts were made to make it stop. I guess they called her or something, but this kept going, so my parents said that we didn't have to get the mail anymore. Me and my siblings were 8 to 12 in age, so my parents started to freak out about the fact that this woman was lurking outside our house. I swear to God, one day at school, her freaking weird-ass son came up to me and told me that we were siblings now. Like, what? I told my parents, and at this point, she had left notes at my dad's freaking job. My parents were starting to freak out because the notes became harsher and more frequent. At one point, she walked into his office and asked for him, but my dad was out for lunch or something. He had also told his colleagues about her and to not let her in. The saddest part about it as well was that none of my dad's colleagues took it seriously until she showed up there, and even then it was mostly the women and none of his buddies. Still, they started to become more strict on unknown visitors to the office. The breaking point was that she rang our doorbell for 30 damn minutes in the middle of the night until police finally came and got her. She didn't get arrested, I think, but my dad got a restraining order and we moved to the nearest big city, especially after handling some of those notes. I have not seen her since. When I was a kid, I really couldn't grasp fucking creepy this was, but my dad will suddenly mention her and we all get chills. So yeah, the story isn't as dramatic and my dad deserves the best. He's doing fine now, by the way. Well, I'm happy y'all are all doing fine, but it seems that that woman also needed some professional help, and I'm really happy actually that your dad took this seriously, because some people really don't, and then it escalates to horrific points. I mean, it escalated in your case, but thankfully no one was hurt or anything. It breaks my heart at the same time that the son of that woman also suffered from this, you know, because he came up to you and said that you're siblings now, so I can only imagine the things that she was telling him and the way she was messing with his mind. I hope he's okay now as well, and we are moving to the next story. I, 29 female, had a nightmare relationship with an older man, 45 male, in college. Now I'm worried what to do when I run into him again. Trigger warning: cancer, infidelity, stalking. When I was 16, I dated a guy who was too old for me. Kevin was 37 and older student in my university program. I'd just gotten out of a bad relationship and thought Kevin was great. Of course, it was red flags all over the place, but I was so naive back then that stupid me didn't question this. Kevin and I dated for 6 months. He quickly told me that he loved me and asked me pretty aggressively to move to his home city to be with him after graduation. Great, right? Still ignoring the red flags. Except in my last semester, I was diagnosed with cancer and my world kind of fell apart after that. The day I got my diagnosis, Kevin made out with another woman at a party in front of me and I left the party in tears. He broke up with me that night by email saying that we weren't a good fit anymore because of my impending medical emergency, that he was only with me because he took pity on me after the end of my previous abusive relationship, and by the way, all our friends thought I was annoying and no one liked me. I felt punched in the gut. My memories of that week are a blur. I had to drop out in the middle of the semester and get a medical leave of absence with the university. In the meantime, Kevin would follow me around campus demanding to know why I wouldn't talk to him and that I forgive him. I remember looking at him like he was insane. So you're apologizing for what you did? I asked. Of course not. I didn't do anything wrong, he answered. But it's not fair that you're angry at me like this. I told him to go to hell and just focused on getting my paperwork squared away and moving back home for what became a lot of chemo. Honestly, this period of my life was a nightmare and I don't like thinking about it. I became suicidal and was diagnosed with depression, so I was seeing a psychiatrist while getting chemo. I lost most of my friends because I guess people didn't know how to deal with my illness. A few stuck by me, and those people are not only still my friends today, but now I even work with some of them. In the months after I left school, Kevin would badger me over text saying he didn't know what happened between us and demanding again that I forgive him. I was in the middle of more chemo, so I told him I forgave him just so he would leave me alone. As soon as I forgave him, he vanished and I never heard from him again. I blocked him on Facebook just to be sure he couldn't slink back. Later that year, between chemo, I run into a strange woman at a university event off campus. I've never met her before, have no idea who she is. A bunch of students and alumni are having dinner together and she's talking about her fiance. Guess who it is? Kevin, of course. I'm confused because a few months of dating is a short time to know someone before you get engaged, but what do I know since Kevin was very fast in telling me he loved me and asking me to move in with him. But when I ask how long they'd been together, she says something crazy like 3 years. At this point, I'm in total shock and realize Kevin was having an affair with me, that our whole time together was a lie. I had no idea. I left in a daze and cried in the parking lot. In hindsight, I should have warned this woman, but at the time I was in shock, sick, not interested in starting drama at a table full of strangers, and I was exhausted. I thought later of finding her on Facebook, but I didn't know her name and I worried telling her would start another round of harassment from Kevin, so I dropped it. So the good news is, I'm obviously still here and happily in remission. 2 years after leaving school, I finally felt human again and went back to finish my degree. By then, I was doing really good. Made new friends, finished therapy, started my career. Life is totally different now. I'm well known in my field and have been invited back to my university as a guest of honor. My professors want me to speak to the students, and I'll have a chance to network with other visiting alumni who are a big deal in my industry. It's an amazing opportunity and I was looking forward to it. Only problem is, I saw Kevin's on the guest list, and so is a woman sharing his last name who I assume is his now wife. When I saw it, my heart sank. The guest list is small, maybe 50 alumni, so we are bound to run into each other. I can't not go because this event is important and I already promised I'd be there. Plus, I don't want to avoid doing things out of fear of running into this asshole from my past. How do I handle running into Kevin again? Do I treat him like a stranger? What if he tries hugging me like we're old friends? It's something he would do. I also have no clue if I should say something to his wife. I don't want to open a can of worms from my past. I'm losing sleep over this and don't know what to do. I crowned this story as one of the wildest I've seen lately. You're having an affair with a young girl who gets diagnosed with cancer, so you kiss another girl at a party and have the audacity or delusion, I don't know, detachment from reality to say that you have nothing to apologize for? I wish I knew where some men get that audacity. I wish we all knew and we could steal it, because this is just impressive. So relevant comments. I'd treat him like a stranger. If he acknowledges you, keep a blank, empty smile like you would give a total stranger who seems to think they know you. When he reminds you who he is, oh gosh, I didn't even recognize you, it's been so long. And then if he tries to initiate any conversation beyond that, you shut him down. Sorry, I really don't have time to talk, as you turn and walk away. If he tries to initiate physical contact, you block it and say firmly no. Do your best to keep other people around you at all times. Have a witness in case anything happens, but otherwise pretend that he doesn't even exist. Either he was going through a very awkward time when you dated and he's a better person now, or he's still as bad crazy as ever. If he's better, he will appreciate being treated like a stranger, because he'll also be uncomfortable. If he's still crazy, you lower the risk of inviting, in his crazy brain, more contact for him. Plus, I think it's nice to give people like this a little bit of, our relationship had so little impact on me that I have to be reminded of your existence. To which the OP quotes, if he's still crazy, you lower the risk of inviting more contact from him. Good point. I blocked him on Facebook long ago, but just to make sure, I blocked his email address just now. I deleted his number long ago, so I can't block it, as I don't even remember it anymore. Then someone goes, you don't give him any attention and you certainly don't approach the girlfriend, although you would like to share a few things. The OP goes, the idea of approaching his wife gives me hives. The last thing I want to do is open this Pandora's box. I feel bad for her though. I suspect most of us feel bad for her, but if there ever was time to talk to her and warn her, it was missed, because she's already married to him. It's been so many years. Like, I also feel super bad, but if you were gonna warn her, you should have done that when all of this went down. And I completely understand why you didn't, because you were going through one of the worst things a human being can go through. I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, and I'm very happy that you are doing well now, but you didn't do it, so the chance was kind of missed for good reasons. So yeah, just leave it be and ignore the We have an update though, and I have a weird feeling it might be a fun one. So something I failed to mention in my last post is that my mom used to teach at my alma mater before she recently retired. She didn't know about my relationship with Kevin years ago. After writing my post, I decided to share with her everything that happened. Mom immediately got this weird look on her face and said she knew exactly who I was talking about because she used to teach in my department. She said, I don't think Kevin Kevin will be a problem for you. When I asked why, she said, trust me, you'll see, that guy is kind of a loser. So I went to the event and it was amazing. I took some of the advice here and brought a girlfriend so I would never be alone in case Kevin tried to pull something. I met a bunch of alumni and ran into a couple of people who I lost touch with when I got sick. Everybody was thrilled to hear how well I'm doing, and my speech got an ovation when I was done. Anyway, Kevin showed up with his wife. I don't know how to say this without sounding mean, but he's gotten fat and is going bald. I was surprised at how old he looked until someone told me he's almost 50 now, which means he lied to me when we were dating and said he was younger than he really was. Also, I heard from old classmates that Kevin is still studying for his degree, plus working nights as a security guard now. Kevin was the only person at the event who avoided me. Like, it was obvious. I thought he was going to avoid me all night until I accidentally found myself alone for 30 seconds, which was when he nervously approached me to congratulate me. I smiled, said thanks, and kept moving. He tried cracking a dumb joke to me later, but I just ignored him, which seemed to frustrate him. Overall, I just spent the night focused on the people around me and forgot he existed. Interestingly, he managed to repeatedly piss off a bunch of people, including his wife and one of the deans, throughout the night with stupid comments. It got so bad that people started a running joke about what an insensitive moron Kevin was. I'm so glad I went and didn't allow one jerk from my past to make me hide. I had a great time and was surprised at how unafraid I felt when I saw Kevin again. The memories from that time of my life were so traumatic, but now he's just some jackass I once knew. I'm not sure what the I even saw in him or why I was ever scared of him. Oh, and by the way, I recently started a great new job that came with a big raise, which means I'll have my student loans paid off this year. Life is good. Thank you for help, Reddit. I'm so glad. You go, girl. This is so nice. This warms my soul. And lastly, there is a little bit of an edit with additional info. An acquaintance recently told me that apparently Kevin and his now wife were in an open relationship for a long time, including while he and I were together, and that she closed the relationship again a few years ago because she got annoyed. I can only imagine the shenanigans. I feel better knowing he didn't cheat on her, even though he still cheated on me, and of course he didn't tell me about his wife at all. Whatever. My favorite part of the evening, I blocked Kevin on Facebook years ago, so he's had no updates whatsoever on my life, including the fact that I go by my birth name now. In college, everybody called me by a nickname, but no one's used it in years. So all night he kept calling me by the super old nickname. People kept looking at him like he was crazy and asking, why are you calling her that? And Kevin got super frustrated because he realized everybody was in on some joke that he didn't understand. No one would clue him in, I guess. In conclusion, I'm happy, you're happy, and Kevin can go himself. This was the last story of a gigantic mess that I had for you today. Please let me know in the comments, as always, what you thought or maybe what you want to see in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you with another video at some point in the future. Bye!